Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be understanding about the e-invoicing concepts. Its new terminologies used, applicability of e-invoicing, and the various other things which are involved in e-invoicings. So first, we'll be understanding who this e-invoicing is, what it is, what are the rules telling about e-invoicing, and then we'll be understanding the applicability. So the relevant law I'll be first displaying over here. So in the rule 48, the manner of issuance of invoice in that sub rule 4, or there is the sub rule which says that the invoice shall be prepared after obtaining an IRN. IRN. So IRN I will be discussing in the next slide. What is IRN? And by uploading the details on the portal. So the invoice needs to be generated after we are obtaining the IRN. So this is there. Then 48.5 says that every invoice issued by a person to whom this 4 is applicable. For that, if that registered person is not following the manner, then that will not be treated as an invoice itself. And 48.6, it says that triplicate invoice and duplicate invoice will not be prepared where the e-invoice is prepared. So we need not maintain the triplicate invoices and duplicate invoices in case of goods and services separately, but where the e-invoice is specifically made applicable. Rule 46. Now Rule 46 also has been amended here, where it has provided the additional content on the invoice is which needs to be mentioned before generating the invoice. That is to say that the QR code, that is a quick reference code, would having embedded the IRN, the invoice reference number, in it in case invoice has been prepared in the Rule 48.4. So e-invoice, once it is prepared, this is the additional content which needs to be mentioned and on the invoice. Yeah, now we'll understand what is IRN. And the full form of IRN is invoice reference number, or it is different from the invoice number. Invoice number and IRN both are different. Invoice number needs to be maintained on in the ERP, whichever you all are maintaining, and IRN will be generated on the portal. The e-invoicing portal has a separate e-invoicing has a separate portal as GST portal and e-way bill portal. So on that IRN will be generated. That is different, and the invoice number needs to be mentioned while generating the e-invoicing. That is your IRN. The next thing is 64 carat length and character length. Unique number is that 64 length, and it is generated by means of computer algorithm using the secured hash algorithm. So that, and what it contains now, IRN, what it contains, basically it is generated from the GST number of the supplier, the financial year, based on the document date the financial year is taken, and document type, that is an invoice, debit note or credit note, invoice number, that is a document series number issued by the supplier. That only I was telling you all that invoice number and the IRN both are different from here. So based on the document number and all these 4 things, is IRN is generated on the portal, e-invoicing portal. Terminology used over there is IRP. What is this IRP? This is a invoice registration portal. Well, this is basically the separate portal given to generate specifically the e-invoice. Is in this portal, registration of the user is there. Here generation, validation, cancellation of invoices, e-invoices also happens, and they allow the integration with the ERPs and GST common portal, that is our portal. Well, integration is already there, and the GSPs also can be integrated on this portal. So these are the 2 terminologies, which is the IRN and IRP. So in the full presentation, I will be using this terms. So that's why I have explained before. QR code. What is this QR code now? This contains all these details. Is GST number of the supplier, GST of the recipient, and invoice number of the supplier, date. All these things are there. They are based on which QR code is generated and it is displayed on that and e-invoice. What happens? What is the applicability of this e-invoicing? Who has to generate this e-invoice? So now we'll understand that. Right, first thing, the aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year from 17-18 onwards, any of the preceding financial year exceeding aggregate turnover of 500 crores. So we have to understand that in any financial year, if it is exceeded 500 crores, or which is now from 1st January 2020, it is 100 crores. So it has been amended now. What they are saying is any of the year 17, 18, 18, 19 and 19, 20. So any of these 3 years, if the aggregate turnover exceeds 100 crores, or then we need to generate this e-invoicing and we have to take a registration on that portal. Well, yeah. So next one is what to whom this e-invoices needs to be generated, for which invoices this is there. There are, first of all, we are aware that there are two types of customers, that is a B2B customer and B2C customer. So what they have done is for the registered customer, that is a B2B customers, as they in the notification 13, that is a main notification for B2B customer 13 by 2020. What they have told is it is applicable from 1st October, from the last month it was applicable. Well, they have to generate an e-invoice. What is the IRN we have to generate for those B2B customers? And what they have told is from 1st October 2020 to 31st October 2020, they had given a relaxation of 30 days is from the date of such invoice. Is date of such invoice we can generate anytime within 30 days. This was the first month of implementation of e-invoice, so that's why they had given this relaxation of the 30 days, but it is still telling that it is 30 days from the date of invoice. Example, to say that at 3rd of October, if the invoice is generated within 30 days, that is your 2nd of November, or within that 30 days we have to generate this e-invoice. It cannot be like for October month 30 days they have given. It's on the date of invoice, not on the month of invoice. So we don't have a time for the today's 21st. Yeah, so we will not be able to generate it e-invoice for the first 20 days. So that first 20 days will not be able to generate. But what I came to know was that portal is not restricting to generate e-invoice, but law specifically says that only 30 days from the date of the invoice we can generate this e-invoice. B2C customers, now we'll come to B2C customers. It is the main notification is the 14 bar 2020 on 21st of March 2020. So they have told that from applicable from 1st of December. So that is coming now. Oh, that is separate. There we have to mention the dynamic QR code, or this QR code is separate, and the QR code applicable for the B2B customers, that is separate. We have to ensure that B2B customers are segregated, sorted, and B2C customers are sorted for this purpose, because IRN needs to be mentioned for B2B customers, and B2C customers we have to mention QR code on the invoice. So this QR code, in case what they are telling, one more exception they have given over there is where the dynamic code is available to the recipient and through a digital display. Then such B2C invoice issued containing the cross reference of the payment using a QR code. That means on the invoice, is if that mention is there that it is already available as a digital display on the digital display is available to the customer, or then QR code need not be mentioned and on the invoice. But where there is digital display is not available, there the QR code is really important for the B2C customer. This QR code is basically for the payment mechanism. What we have our Phone Pay and Google Pay, they also have a QR code. So those QR codes are basically for this B2C customers. was to enable them for making the payment. So this QR code and the above one for B2B customer is a different QR code. So, what I was saying that yeah, first from 1st January 2020, the aggregate turnover exceeding 100 crores they will be is seeing. So now one more thing I will be mentioning here is the aggregate turnover we have to see on PAN level. Well, that will be including all your turnovers, whatever we compute for a GST purpose. The same thing in wherever if the aggregate turnover exceeds 500 crore, then for all the location for all GSTs we have to generate e-invoice. It's not for GST purpose, and we have to see on any of the financial year, means 17-18 if your turnover exceeded 500 crores, and in the last 2 years, that is 18-19-19-20, if the turnover is still below 500 crores, now it is 100 crore, so below 100 crores if the turnover is for 18-19-19-20, and above 100 crores it is for 17-18, still they have to generate it e-invoice. So any of the financial year they are selling. So now they have given some exemptions to the specific type of industries is and the type of registration, and based on which those people don't have to generate e-invoice. So we'll be seeing the 4-5 exemptions what they have given. The first one is goods transport agency. They don't need to generate e-invoice. Second one is insurance, banking company, financial institutions including NBFCs. Third one is suppliers providing services by way of admission to the exhibition of cinematic films in the multiplex screen. So multiplex also don't need to generate this e-invoice. Third one is SEZ. And so SEZ is specifically exempted here, where they don't need to generate this e-invoice. And the suppliers providing passenger transport service. Here the confusion now is that whether this goods transport agency as a registered person need not be generating e-invoice, or if it has various types of other supplies like scrap sale is there. And so whether for that e-invoice specifically for that type of service, whether the e-invoice needs to be generated, that is not clearly coming out. But in seeing the reference of the FAQs and the law specifically, that comes to the we can come to the conclusion that the goods transport agency as a registered person itself need not be generating in e-invoice. Partners can confirm on this is later on. So this is there, and specifically SEZ units. So most of our clients may have location within the SEZ, plus may have outside the this what is it outside the SEZ, that is your DTA unit. So one PAN having both SEZ and DTA units, it still we have to see on the aggregate basis if the it exceeds 100 crores, or then for SEZ units you need not generate it e-invoice, but for the DTA units we have to generate it e-invoice over here. So modes of generation of e-invoice now we'll see. The first one is web-based. Web-based means the Excel utility is provided by them. And we have to put the details of whatever is required, whatever mandatory. We'll be discussing what are mandatorily required over there. Yes, so those details needs to be mentioned on the Excel. We have to generate an JSON and upload it on the e-invoice portal. Based on that, we'll be getting a IRN. And that IRN needs to be mentioned on the e-invoice, IRN plus QR code both. Then your direct integration, your ERP can be integrated through the to the e-invoicing portal and then get generated. And there is the GST Suvidha providers, so those also can be connected through this to the e-invoicing portal. So based on these three things, and there are various others also, but these are the major ones by which we can generate e-invoice. So now the question arises, what are the documents which can be generated through e-invoice? Because the name predicts that it is e-invoice, but it's not just e-invoice, but others also. E-invoice means the documents which can be generated will be your that is your invoice, specific tax invoice, credit notes, debit notes. So these three things can be generated, and exports also. Export invoices also needs this e-invoice. someone needs to. Yeah, so e-invoice needs to be generated for these three documents plus export also, export invoice also. Oh, and why I'm telling this specifically for taxable supplies, when we see this 48.4, oh, this 48.4 comes below the taxable supplies, and after 48.4, or there is the provision for bill of supply, and that is your exempt supplies and all. So they are specifically included in the taxable supplies rules only. Tax invoice, so invoicing, and when I go through this Excel utility also, there also they have not given any provision for bill of supply. So both practically plus lawfully also that it is only for the taxable supplies. Is a few points we have to understand, and that is your generation of invoice in EFT and this one, and sending the details same to invoicing portal for obtaining IRN and QR code. That I had discussed earlier only, that we need to, first generate the invoice is on the on our ERP. There we have to send all the details to the e-invoice portal. Well, after that, they will give us the IRN and QR code, based on which needs to be mentioned on the invoice. The second thing is ease of doing compliance. This is really a move, what we can say, based on which is now they will be getting the data on the real time basis. Means the government will get the data on real time basis is on that day itself, and this will be integrated for the GST return, that is GSTR1, and it is already started populating on the portal. Well, all the invoices is, and your e-way bill. So e-way bill also we have to mention the IRN number while generating this e-way bill. Based on that, automatically the details will be coming on the e-way bill portal also. So all the three websites are linked to each other. It's not that it is not linked and there won't be any connection. And, next one is cancellation and amendments. We'll understand this cancellation, whether this cancellation can be done, whether amendments can be done. So cancellation basically it can be done within 24 hours. Because the details of this IRN will be available on the IRP, that is our invoice reference portal. Well, on that portal, well, it will be available on for 24 hours after generation of the IRN, and so within that we can cancel the invoice. So there is no this what to say, and amendment, there is no option of amendment of e-invoice. Is we have to go to the portal itself, to GST portal, to amend any details of the invoice. But on e-invoicing portal there is no option of amendment. And yeah, one more thing was that cancellation of invoice. Cancellation of invoice is where there is e-way bill existing. So there we have to ensure that first we cancel the e-way bill and then go and cancel the e-invoice. So based on this, cancellation will be allowed. So now the question arises that what happens when we come to know after 24 hours? So there is no option of cancellation on the portal. Well, this needs to be seen that invoice will not be cancelled after 24 hours. We have to ensure that all the details what are mentioned and while generating this e-invoice is accurate, correctly mentioned, and there is no wrong mentioning of all the details. Okay, so 24 hours means only one day. So what happens, what we used to do was, while filing GSTR1, we used to see okay, GST number is not correctly mentioned, so we'll be correcting it. Amendment we could be doing. So that is not possible now. Amendment option is not available on IRP now. We have to ensure that. So what are the mandatory fields available on this portal? That is your B2B supplies are there. Here B2C, this is there. What is there? Yeah, B2B SEZ and exports. These details are required to be mentioned. What is the type of supply? Then the document type, that is your invoice is credit note or debit note, that needs to be mentioned. The document number needs to be mentioned. and what is the document number, document date, it the supplier's information such as GST number, legal name and address, and the recipient's information needs to be mentioned. The item details are also required over here. Or goods or service descriptions are required, and the HSN code and the tax details. So all these details are mandatorily required to generate the e-invoice. So without which, if you are keeping it blank, then it will not get generated. Blank is not an option. So now what we'll discuss what are the practical issues what we are facing. So this e-invoicing. So first what I had discussed earlier that the GTA business. So in this GTA business, what needs to be seen, whether we need to see only the GTA invoices or the scrap sale also. So as we had discussed earlier also, we need to see on the business basis is over here. Next one is availment of ITC. We had seen earlier under 48.5. Yeah, first slide what I had gone through. Just go through that. At 48.5. Yeah, 48.5 here what it says that every invoice issued by a person under 4, or if he is not following a manner in which the invoice needs to be generated, then that will not be treated as an invoice. So in case a person, a supplier who is mandatorily required to generate an e-invoice, it does not generate for us as a recipient, then we have to we will not be able to take the credit because it is not an invoice. Under rule 48.5, it is specifically telling that it will not be treated as an invoice. So on the document, and as a document 16.2, we have to ensure that that document contains all the details is which are required to be mentioned, and required to be mentioned under 46. So 46 also requires that the QR code is to be mandatorily available. In case that QR code is not available, well, then it will not be treated as a valid invoice is, and as a documentary evidence will not be able to take. But however, there is one exception also, that it says that 4 requirements are if they are available, well, then we will be able to take the credits like your GST number and tax amounts and taxable amount and all that. So based on that also we can say that we still it is a litigatable part, but as the first instance, yes, it will not be an invoice is, and recipient has to take care that whoever suppliers are having in applicability of this is e-invoicing, ensure that you get their QR code or QR code and the IRN number from them on the invoice, and based on which we will be able to take the credit. It's better to avoid the litigation part of this. Next, one more thing was practical difficulty was 1 minute. Third one is sorting of B2B and B2C customer. So in this sorting B2B and B2C, where we are aware that B2B customers, most of the customers, where I have seen that in automobile specifically, that these customers don't give their GST numbers, and later on they come and provide us a GST number and tell us to provide the invoice in their B2B as a B2B, and which will be reflecting in their 2A. So here sorting of B2B now, because B2B requires IRN number and B2C requires QR code. So we have to ensure and take the confirmation from the client that means the customers that they are not B2C customers, and in case they have B2B, this what I say, in case they are having GST number, then to make it available while generating the invoice, before generating the invoice is this we have to ensure that we get all the details from the customers. Next one is amendment of invoice. As we had discussed, there is no option of amendment of invoice. Is we have to cancel the whole invoice is and generate the new e-invoice. So there is no option available. Finally, while filing GSTR1, then we have an option to correct it and upload it. But there again, in the issue is this linking of this portal of e-invoice and GST. Again, there should not be any notices to the customer that the details what you are mentioning on e-invoice is not matching with GSTR1, and so this issue should not come. So that's why we have to ensure that the client also, we have to make them aware that this amendments are not available on the this portal. What is that on the e-invoice portal. One more issue what the client had faced this time was this tax amount, the type of tax, the CGST, SGST, and IGST. Customer had wrongly charged CGST, SGST in place of IGST. So the actual tax needs to be charged was IGST, but on the e-invoice, while generating e-invoice, it mentioned, they had mentioned the CGST, SGST. So there, here this option only they were not validating. This only was my next point. Yeah, so there is no option of validating in the e-invoice portal as it is available in our GST portal. So we have to ensure that the details which we are uploading on the e-invoicing portal, this e-invoicing portal has all the accurate data correctly mentioned and data on the portal, and e-invoice gets generated, which then will be available into our GSTR1, and we'll be able to generate our e-invoice based on all this is linked. This all portals are linked to each other now. So we have to ensure all these things are there. So yeah, one Excel I'll be showing you all where this JSON, what JSON we have. You all are able to see, Monica? You are able to see this Excel?
Not yet.
Huh?
Now it is visible.
Yeah. So this I'll just go through this once the Excel in which we can generate a e-invoice. The first method where I had told you all that there are three methods through which we can generate e-invoice. The first method is through Excel. Just I wanted to show you all what things are available on this Excel format, so that it will be easy for the viewers to see this and understand what actual requirements are required in this while generating this e-invoice. So the first is the profile. In this profile requires the seller's details, means the supplier details, the GST number of the supplier. This specifically this supplier, what one of our client while generating this e-invoice mentioned the GST of the other. It had two GSTs, means Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So what he had mentioned was this, what is the Tamil Nadu GST, but while login in they had shown they had logged into Karnataka login. So here also while uploading this, it will show, it will throw an error. So we have to ensure that all the details which are mentioned here, again I'm telling you on that it is really important to ensure that these details are there. Otherwise, generation of e-invoice is not so easy on this. But yes, now it is there are no much issues. Once the one or twice this e-invoice is generated by a person, then there is not much of issues which we are facing on this e-invoicing portal. Generation of, there are 100 line items which can be mentioned on this is and generated within, I think so, 1 or 2 minutes it is getting generated. It is not getting delayed also. Much delay is not there on this e-invoicing portal. Generation of e-invoice is very easy. There is no portal issues presently what are seen on the e-invoicing. Here, yeah, we all this relating to the supplier, like legal name, the address, what is there, and the pin codes and all this. And these all details are also required. That is your reverse charge is applicable or not. Do you have reverse charge and individual e-commerce? Yes, and all these export details, yes or no. Oh, and here, yeah, batch details also can be given. Free quantity if it is available or not, that also can be given. And in case it is not available, you can do so it as no over here. So here we can do it no. So this is the thing. That next one is your e-invoicing, in where all the details need to be mentioned. Yeah, the supply type where I was telling you all the supply type is required, and just zoom this that it will be visible for you all. Reverse charge details, the document type, document number, this in buyer's GST, in buyer details. All these buyer details are required, and without which it will not be there. Now, one more issue what was faced for this was buyer's GST number was cancelled. Suo moto cancelled was there while we were verifying the GST number on the GST portal. What we could see was the cancelled that particular GST was cancelled suo moto, but still we were able to generate this e-invoice. We have to take care that it is a valid GST number over here. Buyer details are there, buyer all details are there, then and the dispatch details, these are not mandatorily to mention on this dispatch details. It's shipping details are required and here, but dispatch, yes, dispatch will come where it is bill to ship to case. So that also we have to ensure that that is there. There then your product details, all the product details needs to be mentioned on this. Is tax, this what is it? Taxable values and taxes is here. Yeah, here you can see this is what I was saying all that the CGST, SGST and IGST and rate. So it is not getting auto calculated what type of tax based on the place of supply. Okay, so we have to ensure that this is correctly mentioned. It should be the correct type of tax only. Because the amendment option is also not available. Values, while it's generating these values for CGST, SGST and IGST. So all these values is e-invoicing details. So all these details it needs to be mentioned, and then generate the JSON file. So here option is there to validate it and generate the JSON file. Once this is generated, we can upload it on the portal. So this is the one thing format they have given over here, e-invoicing. Yeah, details are there. Yeah. So this is a Excel format which needs to be there. Yeah. The few things I had written an article on this also, the few things which need to be taken care of while generating this e-invoicing for the customers, specifically sorry, for the customers. Yes, based on the customer's point of view also, and based on the supplier's point of view also, what checks needs to be maintained in the internal control points. So we have to verify that we have to suggest our clients also that they have these system checks, so that there is no miss out of any of the details which are available based on supplier's point of view as well as in the recipient's point of view. So these that article can be referred also, so that it can be suggested to the client. So yeah, I am done with my presentation now.